Hi guys, Pat Bland. Delighted to meet you. Not so pleased with the weather, but it's good to see you here. Seen the road demo guys, a bit of a deja vu, isn't it really, but never mind. Okay, I've got to go through the mandatory stuff, the health and safety stuff. First of all, no smoking anywhere please. That's the emergency exit. If there's an incident, fight your way through, and we'll do a head count when we get out. Expect movement on the airfield. They're still laying out the pyros for the road demo, so if you see people moving around, they are authorized. Don't worry about it. Similarly, in the runway 20 undershoot, the punters get in there and the police have no power to move them out. It's an open area. So if you see people moving around there, don't let them distract you. Try not to hit them much as you'd like to. There's little we can do about it. Okay, we're going to cover admin first. Not here to teach you your business, simply to ensure that we're singing from the same hymn sheet. Everything you need, you should have in the books that you've been issued already. You should have done most of your admin and planned your trip out on Monday. The flying programs are out. Blue or green, depending on your color perception, is the color of the day. The pink ones are tomorrow's. That's the way it stands at the moment. If it changes, the color will change. So if we're working on pinks in the morning, nothing has changed. Please, please, please check before you go home. Any changes will be put in the visiting acre hosting tent. Make sure your mission hasn't changed. If it has, please adjust your timings accordingly. With regard to today, we're running about 20 minutes late. I've just had word that the Falcons, who had scrubbed earlier on, the RAF Falcons, were going to fill a slot. They are not. That should take 12 minutes out. So we should be about 10 or 15 minutes behind. Rather than pluck anybody out, we're going to slide the program to the right and hope to get everybody in. I noticed the Met Man's focus for the bad weather is over the period of the Vulcan, but the road demo should have it okay. There is a signature sheet Charles will take around. Please sign it before you leave. If you don't, it invalidates your display. We can't let you fly. Cover then the airfield details, display lines, rules and regs, and a little bit of general information. It's all fairly brief, so we don't drag this briefing out too long. We're on, there's the station, runway 2002. That's where we are. TACAN and ILS are off because everything's, there are obstacles all over the place. And you all have seen the cables at 2,000 feet from each end of the runway. As far as I'm aware, they don't cause anybody here any problems. If they do, let us know and we can change them around. The crowd area, it does extend a long way down, even though there aren't spectators all the way down. We do have a campsite down the bottom end, so please, that is sacrosanct. That is the crowd line all the way down there. And there's your display area. If you're a light aircraft and the winds are good to you, when you come to the intersection, feel free to turn off instead of going all the way. This is important. The pleasure helicopters are flying on the dead side. They will not go above 500 feet. If there's anybody who displays, who breaks left after they run through, please talk to me afterwards. At the moment, we don't have a problem. We'll have a chat afterwards then, okay? The decision will be whether we just accept it. If you're not happy, we won't, obviously, or whether we just curtail the flying yellows for part of the operation. But we'll discuss that. Please talk to me afterwards and we'll come to a solution. Avoid the fence up to a zero threshold, and obviously the people who may be there. The datum is a great big arrow pointing out towards the display area, which you have already seen when you landed. The crowd line is self-evident, with the line of marquees, and hopefully, now that the weather's cleared, lots of people. It's right in front of air traffic, incidentally, so that should give you a line-up point. The tower is a good line-up point. The 100-meter line is the western edge of the airfield, and the eastern edge is the 150-meter line. The action line for most people, the 230-meter line, is very clearly visible from the air. Very short grass, red buoys all along it. Midway between the runway and the eastern taxiway. And the 450-meter line is the same distance the other side of the eastern taxiway. It is not marked. For those of you who aren't familiar, although you've all flown in recently, be aware of the bump in the runway. It is quite a considerable little bump, and we don't want to take you by surprise. If you're performing to the 230-meter line and you do a fly past, it must be to that line, please, not down the runway. Diversions for today, as briefed by the Met Man, Humberside and East Midlands for the fast jets, for the big aeroplanes, and Coningby, which is all rigged up for the fast jets. Holding patterns, we're on to 0. Alpha is a close hold up to 25,000 feet of the QFE, and the outer hold Brook for 0 and above. If we do switch runways, we'll move down to, we'll use Bravo and Grantham with the same flight levels and heights. For the smaller airplanes and the BBMF, and I understand, no, they've flown this morning. Okay, that's for small aircraft crowd rear. If you stay within the RAT, 6 nautical miles, up to 7,000 feet, no problems. If you have to go outside it, you'll be in a diversion situation. Those are 2 obvious things to look out for. The Wickham Aerodrome, up to 1,500, and the Belmont Marsh. If you want to go higher than 7,000, I've already picked that up in the forms. Air traffic will be aware. Just mention it to me afterwards, and we'll sort it out. Low flying. We have to keep the residents around here fairly sweet, so please, no flying. The yellows below 500 feet, and the reds below 1,000. One change to those published frequencies. I suspect you know it already because it changed on Wednesday night, so all the Thursday arrivals should have picked that up. 130.675 for tower during display has changed to 121.3, the VHF freak. The UHF freak remains the same. The tower and the display freak is 121.3. That will stay until we depart on Monday.
Could just say that they've had some interference channel
On which channel?
On the display frequency in tower. We think it's something to do with Project Eli. I believe it's been resolved in a frequency.
Okay.
There have been interruptions as well.
Okay, so the display frequency is your freak. Nobody will come up on it intentionally. If there's some interference, just be aware. Just a few of the rules and regs. Those are your limits for fixed-wing airplanes and for the rotaries. As I've already said, 6 nauticals up to 7,000 feet. Higher, if you need it, we can give you that. If you have an authorization to go lower, you're not incident pilots. Don't feel you have to go low to prove anything. The crowd don't see you if you get too low, except those in the front row, so keep up with it. Any reason if you want any of that. If you can, please don't. That's the important one. Please do not fly over the crowd. If you're displaying and you hear your call sign from the display director, stop, 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 please break off your display as soon as it is safe to do so. Land immediately and contact the display director in the tower after you land. Now, doesn't necessarily mean you've done something wrong. It could be that something has happened of which you are unaware, but that we consider to be dangerous or potentially dangerous. And rather than discuss it, we want you on the ground safely, and we'll sort it out. So if you get that call, it could be something totally unrelated to your performance. The standard emergency stuff, if you're on the dispersal, go for the ground crew. If you're at the holding point or at the marginal point, and you have clearance to display, go ahead and display. If tower realizes you've lost your radio, they'll give you a green. If not, smoke 7-6 and proceed to diversion. Any others, inform air traffic and do whatever you think is suitable. Particularly today, please arrange early transport across the other side. With the continuous flying, it's quite tricky getting the vehicles across the runway. Please think ahead, especially although we are running late. If something else falls out or we pull something else out, we may actually slide you forward. So please be in the airplane early, Leave your mobiles on until the last minute, until you're on the radio, so we've always got a way of contacting you. There is traffic on the road at the A15. It's controlled by lights for large formation of large aircraft, and we look after that. And as you already know, if you need to get the other side, you need to be in one of our vehicles or we escort you across. Hopefully you won't need them. Refreshments on both sides of the runway, visiting aircrew hosting and advance. And if you are lucky enough to be self-driving, be careful. We don't have many hills in Lincoln, but we have lots of cameras, and they park them at the bottom of the hill. So you pick up speed, down the bottom of the hill, flash, and you get a fine. We don't know how to pay them for you, so please be careful. The display directors in the tower, and my two colleagues who work in the tower at the moment. When you're finished, the guys will bring you back. They should take you to meet the pilot's tent. Please spend the time there, just 20 minutes or so. The public love to talk to you guys. So please spend the time, after which you can walk back. Thank you.
Doing their display with 5, so we're really looking forward to seeing the display here today. It's all battles at the moment, hopefully with the resolution coming at some stage. Still got the Vulcan. Got his DA, which is the display authority from the Civil Aviation Authority. That was clear, and then yesterday we got the final clearance for what would be.
She says it's high time she went away. No one's got much to say in this time. Strong as you are, tender you are. I'm watching you breathing for the last time. Song for your heart, but when it is quiet, I know what it means, and I'll carry you home. I'll carry you
Actually, there were specific models to do specific jobs. So we finished up with the GR1, the GR1A, and the GR1B, then up from sort of the H2 being a little bit on the H3. But they were actually different aircraft. You're not going to do that with this, are you? When it's ground attack, it's just put different weapons on board. That's right, with multi-role, it means just that the aircraft can do both jobs. That's why it's been designed is that in the air-to-air role, you'll find a way to target.
I'm watching you breathing for the last time. A song for your heart, but when it is quiet, I know what it means. I'll carry you home. I'll carry you
which is the Royal Spanish Air Force aerobatic team. We are honored to have been invited to perform for you today and will proudly fly our nation's color.
Supposed to be red, yellow and red, but that's what dirty brown.
There you can see the Patrulla Águila appearing. The jet in the center of the formation is the leader. To his right are the wingmen numbers 2, 4 and 6. And to his left you can see the wingmen numbers 3, 5 and 7. In a wedge of 7, the leader Major Dill has made the call for smoke to be put on. They have changed the formation to Águila formation for a flyby in front of us at about 300 knots. This year we celebrate our 23rd anniversary. 70 pilots, more than 450 displays, more than 300 of men abroad, and 22,000 flying hours are our number. The Águila team was founded in 1985. Due to the weather conditions today, Patrulla Águila will perform the alternative display to avoid the clouds every time.
Tighter formation for you to get to.
The Águila team is composed of 11 pilots. The commanding officer, 7 display pilots and 3 spare pilots committed to supporting the fly display.
Dime. Va bien, si esperamos 10 minutos más hacemos la alta, mira que gusto ahí, tío.
You can see again the Patrulla Águila. Now they are in the poker formation and they will perform a flyby in front of us. Again at 300 knots. The white smoke generating system injects fuel into the jet exhaust. The fuel is vaporized, producing the white contrails. will be followed by a 3/4 inverted loop. And look at the solo, he's going to cross with the rest of this 6 aircraft formation. And here they are again, in super middle formation for a flyby in front of us.
All about the team, our history, the aircraft we fly, and more importantly the competition and how to apply.
Operationally, of course, the Lynx is a long way from home in various areas at the moment.
Well, as we speak, you're absolutely right. They're currently on operations in Iraq, in Afghanistan, and actually elsewhere around the world, and they're doing a sterling job, particularly in the casualty evacuation, the intimate fire support with its machine guns and cannons inside, and also command and control. Absolutely vital. It's what we as Army pilots train for.
So while we sort of think about the Lynx as being as an anti-tank helicopter, it's sort of gone way past there now. The roles have been developed for what we're actually facing at the moment, rather than what we were facing back in the 80s when we were Cold War.
Absolutely. We have actually planned for the Lynx to retire gracefully, and that's why the Army Air Corps brought in the Apache. But we've still got utility. We can still do a fantastic job out there, and I can't emphasise enough the fact that it's Army pilots supporting the Army on the ground that makes that fantastic 273 wing over the ground. Make sure you get cameras ready, and we'll see what else he's got in store for us. Because of the bank there just representing what this aircraft actually does. We procured it, we bought it for one reason only, and that's to attack it.
It looks rather strange around the rotor blades, because it's got that rather funny sort of mushroom on top.
Well, absolutely. Well, that's the Apache Incorporo radar. The Apache, the British line, has got a very sophisticated sensor suite. It's got a radar, it's got a state-of-the-art thermal imaging and image intensification system, and it needs
with certain modifications or requirements which are unique to the UK versions.
Absolutely. Well, we looked around the world. We thought, what's the best Rolls engines in? The same engines actually in the Berlin helicopter. We put a defensive aid system on there that's top-notch. And what that means is we're actually flying the best attack helicopter in the world. And I'm going to say it's very cheesy, but actually,
again, looking at the Apache, it looks sort of more heavily armed than
all the troops on the ground in Afghanistan.
The crew sitting in total. Where does the pilot sit? Where does the operator or the guy who's actually controlling a lot of the technical support side? Who sits where?
Well, actually, you can fly and fight the aircraft from both seats. Now, it is actually optimised that the gunner is actually in the front. He's got a bit of a Nintendo hand grip, and he's got lots of buttons in the front. But you can actually fly, and we do train both pilots from both seats. The pilot would tend to sit in the back, although you can fly both in the front.
Do you fly it with two pilots, or have you got one guy who is the pilot and the other guy is not necessarily pilot qualified, but is flying as part of the crew. Which way do you play that balance now?
No, both are trained pilots, both are trained to exactly the same standard, but what we find is as the guys gravitate on operations, they'll tend to gravitate towards one seat or other, but to be honest, they're interchangeable. The pilots are both equally skilled and can fly from either seat. Now the Apache today,
Well, we go from one moment of nostalgia to another, but slightly more familiar. To your left, back on the British Memorial Park, we'll be able to talk about that magnificent noise of 6 Merlin engine. It wasn't a disaster, but it wasn't quite the success they hoped. Then, of course, the Merlin Picard engine started to appear. It weren't short anymore, so the electronic went back to being powered by the Merlin engine. Quite a massive bomb load in the sense that towards the end of the war there was a 22,000-pound bomb called Grand Slam, which was developed by Barnes was the same man. The original concept of bomb weight that Lancaster would be able to carry. 7,377 Lancasters built, frightening 3,349 were lost in operations. That's 45% of the aircraft failed to return to operational maintenance. And the other rather staggering figure is out of the 126,000 aircrew who flew, it flew with 100 squadron and 91 squadron, and that's why if you've actually been looking at the aircraft, it's got different squadron recognition numbers on both sides of the fuselage. Left-hand side of the fuselage, it was Hotel Romeo Whiskey, that's 100 Squadron, and on the right-hand
appropriate that she should fly with another old and very distinguished bomber. So if it all goes according to plan, once we've got the Stanley Memorial fighters down on the ground, they're still with us, so it may be a little while before we manage to get the two bombers together. But if you look out to your left, you will see the smoke trails of the 4 Olympus 202 engines. Look to the left for your view of the Vulcan with its gear up. And there is the Lancaster turning onto the display line, right centre. The Vulcan catches up the Lancaster. Catching.
with us in the right-hand seat. So Dave Thomas is able to, he's going to pull into the echelon starboard position with the Lancaster, so he is able to get his formation positioning exactly right. And we should expect to see them come past the amazingly beautiful shape of the Avro Vulcan in the same part of the sky. Just, well, having been commentating for about 30 years and some, I'm almost to the stage where words fail me. Loud cheers all round, but I promise when they come back next time, I'll be quiet. And here is that amazing photo opportunity. This should be all over the papers, all over the world tomorrow. Bristol Olympus 202s. Here they come from half left.
Senior Air Vice Marshal who was sort of going along for the ride, and the story that I heard was it was a co-pilot's responsibility to carry the key, but apparently no, that wasn't true. It was a key that actually got broken along, because any good line chief will certainly have in his pocket a spare key in case some idiot forgets to bring the key. But apparently it is a true story. They were all standing outside scratching their heads going, anybody know how to turn it off?
So off to our left then, the Lancaster coming into land. That really was a lovely formation shape, wasn't it? I think it's Stu Reed flying the Lancaster, and of course Dave Thomas flying the Vulcan. Been talking about the project that finally brought Vulcan back to the sky. It's been a series of disasters, but each one being overcome in turn. I talked about Robert Fleming, the chief executive. I'm not sure he really thanked me for saying this, but you might know that Robert Fleming has been seriously ill. He's been in and out of hospital more than once recently, and he's still in a very uncomfortable neck brace. But I guess we shouldn't be surprised that he continues to. Big company or big philanthropist will realise what an amazing asset she truly is and put in place some serious commercial support. So look to the left, and here is the proper Vulcan display. X-Ray Hotel 558 flies for us.
Right in front of you.
Thomas waiting till he gets to the end of the display line and then pitching up to turn round and come back in front of us, and you see how manoeuvrable that aircraft is. Fighter-like performance. There's that shape and there's that sound. David brings her back in front of us again, you should see the bomb doors closing as he comes back onto the display line. That amazing bomb bay that could hold 21 1,000-pound bombs. And in fact, that aircraft on the far side of the airfield dropped on the Port Stanley runway. There are the bomb doors closing as she goes past. Should be queuing up to support Vulcan to the sky. David and Martin have got the gear down now. She's coming by with the undercarriage down. So if you can point us in the direction of such a company or group, I know you'll be met with open arms. As you will, of course, if you continue to contribute the much needed money that you've done so brilliantly so far. His own car hire business. Rejoined the RAF in '87. Went on to the Vulcan display flight till the end in 1992. Is now a reservist instructing in the ground school at the multi-engine training school Metz at Cranwell. And he also flies the tutor. Co-pilot is Martin Withers, DFC. Yes, that Martin Withers, the one who flew XM607, the one on the far side of the airfield down to the Falklands in 1982. And also got the Distinguished Flying Cross for doing that. And the third member of the crew, they don't have any navigators on board because the CAA insists minimum crew and they don't need a navigator for a display. Barry Macefield, he's in one of the 3 rear seats, but let's just watch the aircraft touch down. Aerodynamic braking. And if I wasn't holding a microphone, I'd be clapping too. Execute.
offload these troops, look directly in front of you for the arrival of the tornado.
Incoming under fire from enemy reinforcements.
All call signs, Warrior. Enemy reinforcements approaching. Request 27, Mike, straight.
Roger, Scorpion responding. The Apache Warrior has requested additional fire support, a 27mm cannon straight. This would normally be provided by the Spark GR4s, but they are currently out of position, so the Scorpion F3s are going to assist. This is true flexibility. A range of electronic targeting systems are used for such ground attacks, often backed up by visual systems, which may be as simple as marking the target with orange smoke. These are the attacked suspected aircraft. After this attack, Scorpion F3s will take up position above the airfield, providing combat air patrol.
Scorpion 2, you eyeball. Scorpion 1 will shoot. Roger.
Scorpion, Warrior. Target mounted troops. 100 meters northeast of bullseye.
So now it's time to look away to your left-hand side.
Two of them. Wings back.
However, the Tornado F3s are in danger from the... Well, as you can see, those two strafing attacks are certainly not the enemy bag. Those attacks were carried out with supreme accuracy, exactly what we need at this stage of the mission. Confirming the mission covert Liberator. Now arrived. Once again, speed is all important. The Chinook helicopter is very vulnerable whilst it's on the ground. So again, it's being protected by the Apache attack helicopter.
Heads up, bandits 5 miles at bullseye.
Well, you saw the two enemy Hawks scramble a few moments ago. technicians and an 11-man mission crew, and again associated with sort of flight controllers and various others who are involved in controlling the situation. So that's the E3B based here at RAF Waddington.
This one was built in 1960. One of them's a low light camera, and the other one's a 4.
Three that are going to come down with the flags first, along with 7 others that will get into that famous stack of the Royal Air Force Vulcans. And as I said before, these are the only team in the world to perform this loose stack. That stacking one on top of one another, not actually getting too close to the parachute below you, because you don't want to burn it. If you burnt it, he would have to cut it away, and he wouldn't get bought any beer that night in the bar. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I thought there was going to be 3 flags, but they're now going for the 10-man stack. So, right at the very top, you'll see the 3 new members of the team. The top of the stack is the hardest position to get into. And we put the newcomers right at the very top as a steep learning curve.
I refer you out to your left now, ladies and gentlemen. Flight Lieutenant Charlie Matthews and the 2008 RAF Typhoon.
The quadruplex flight control system, which is 4 independent computers, are keeping the aircraft in the air as Charlie flies towards you. It's about to be put on as Charlie comes around, and then
We've got millions of boats to toot up yesterday, you can hardly tell what's something about.
Hi, Steve, what are you doing here today?
Well, I come for a day out with the family to see the aeroplanes. I've got a military background. My father's in the forces, or has been for 40-something years. So come mainly to see the planes, but it's spectacular this year that the Vulcan is going to be back in the sky.
And what's so special about the Vulcan? Everybody's talking about the Vulcan.
It's just such a beautiful plane to see. I remember it as a boy when my dad was much younger. I went to air shows as a boy, and just the power, the noise, the sheer thrust as it goes up. And obviously it's been out in the sky for, I don't know, 15 years, 15 plus years, and after years and years of saving to get it back up, it is going to be back up. And kind of poignant for me and sentimental for me, because my dad flew in the Falklands War. He flew the Victor tankers in the Falklands War of '82, and obviously he was refuelling the Vulcan jets that were bombing Port Stanley in the Falkland Islands. And when you can see actually behind, the one that's not flying today, that's the Vulcan that actually bombs Port Stanley. That is the original one.
Okay, so we'll film that in a minute.
So that's the one, and then there's obviously one over there that's going to go up shortly.
That's the one they're trying to fix.
That's the one they're fixing at the moment. There'll be a lot of very disappointed people if they can't get it off the ground.
And that's the only Vulcan that still currently flies?
The only Vulcan that flies. For how long is anyone's guess, and it's still quite tame compared to what it used to be. It doesn't bank so steeply, it takes it easy. It's a veteran now. It's got a Zimmer frame, if you like.
And the rest of the Vulcans, just stationary in their full places?
Pretty much, they're just absolutely just like the one over there by the main road. They're static display, but still pulling the crowds. I mean, it's a phenomenal machine, and a massive part of the Royal Air Force's history, especially for the Falklands. So that, amongst many things, fabulous day.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Adios.
Bye.
He's doing it.
video and get the lovely noise of these fast motors and one good connection coming from the left. The capital Britain War response, they don't have to work with it.
Way too small. I don't have time to zoom anymore.
So we're here with Andy Robbins. Andy, nice.
Hi, how you doing? You alright?
Very well, thank you. Clearly, you're from the Red Arrows.
Yes, Red 10, safety officer and display manager for the Red Arrows. So I'm here to A, make sure safety's good, timing's good with the display director here and Mr. Pat Land, and also to make sure everything's safe for the pilots as well. So pilots are proud, we've got to find the display line, make sure everything's safe for the weather and such like. Things that were happening yesterday, clearly bread and butter.
So you must be the most glamorous job, is it, in the forces?
Quite possibly, very flattered. I think so. I'm on the ground the whole time. I don't get to fly. I'm not a display pilot, but I do everything else apart from that, and I get to meet loads of people.
So for the display pilots who are out there, how do they become? Because I should imagine every pilot in the forces wants to be a Red Arrow. How do they get to that stage?
I'm sure the helicopter pilots, multi-engine guys aside, all the fire-safety guys, it's one of the things that we all aspire to, whether it's a cup of tea or not, display flying, giving up every weekend, every summer for 3 years, not quite everyone's cup of tea. But again, very prestigious, immense privilege to represent past 45 years, and this year the past 90 years. So a real privilege. We go overseas quite a lot of travelling. So again, waving the flag, best of British.
So tell me, I don't know whether you know the answer or whether you speak to the guys, but when you're upside down, then you're this way, then you're that way, how do you know where the hell you are? How does your body geography work?
Well, I chat with any display pilot. It's a very slick routine. It's something that's been practiced and rehearsed. You've worked down from height, slowly working down towards the ground. So you're giving yourself the best work down and the most sensible work up towards the final display clearance. You're then given final display clearance, and that's judged by experienced display pilots. You've got a display supervisor on the ground helping you out. So at the end of the day, it's a very gradual process. It's not something you just do off the bat like you would appear to see here. It's the final process of a long period of training.
And what we see here on show days is obviously the glamorous side. Is there lots of behind the scenes office work, a revision?
Well, yeah, the Red Arrows, we run our whole life. We've got a full administrative workup, support personnel. One of my jobs is planning all the displays. So we're going to be working all year round to create the summer displays. We've just come back from America and Canada, and just before Christmas we're in Malaysia, in the Middle East and India. So again, permanent on the move, always working leisurely, hopefully one step ahead. All the displays, be it overseas or here in the summer.
You fly the flag for the forces brilliantly. You're like the Posh and Becks of the Air Force, so thank you very much for talking to us.
Very kind.
Good seeing you.
Yes.
Good evening.
Hi.
How did you begin your military career and how did you end up organising an air show?
Oh, I began my military career about 47 years ago. I joined when I was a boy, initially as a technician. I was a technician for several years. Eventually I became airman aircrew to fly Nimrods. And after flying Nimrods for a little while, I decided to go for a commission. I got commissioned into got a Royal Air Force commission. Then flew Victor tankers and various other jobs, officer training school and various other things, and eventually I left the Air Force. But before I left, I used to work here at Waddington and I used to help at the air show. One of my duties was running the car parks. And when I was about to leave, they said, you know, were I interested, because of my aircrew background, was I interested in looking at the flying, doing the flying job? And I thought about it and thought, yeah, I'll do that. So that's where that's how I got here.
I see. And I believe you were one of the people who were refuelling the Vulcan in the Victor tankers in the Falklands War.
I was one of the people. Yes, I was in the tanker that was refueling the Vulcan that went to Brazil because the refueling didn't go right. Yes.
How long does it take to organise an event of this kind?
365 days.
Ah.
So when the air show starts on Monday, we start again.
Really?
Yeah.
Ah, I didn't realise.
Well, we put this show to bed, we write the letters, we tidy everything up, but as soon as that's over,
you start
all the planning
next
starts
year's
again.
one. And how many planes, how many pilots, how many ground crew roughly are involved?
Off the top of my head, we started off with about 220 aeroplanes. In the last 2 weeks, about 40 of the smaller static aircraft cancelled for one reason or another. So I guess that leaves us with about 180 aeroplanes. How many people? Okay, probably around 250 air crew. Ground crew, probably 3 times that.
And presumably all the cadets and young people like that are all volunteers?
Yes, we get the air training corps and they come along and they volunteer to do the picking up the rubbish, selling programs, all manner of jobs.
Obviously the show has to run strictly to time. If something goes wrong or if there's a problem, what do you do?
It does go, or we do try and get it to go strictly to time, and if something goes wrong, we improvise. And we'll just switch slots, precisely what we've been doing for the past 2 days with the weather and stuff going wrong.
Presumably the people who fly in teams, like the Red Arrows, they've got their little actuation, their little, what do you call it? What they're going to do, all planned out. But if you're a solo pilot,
no, that's all planned
even
out
that's planned. They can't make it up or do a spur of the moment
we don't
decision.
accept. Every pilot who displays here will send us his display routine. That'll be vetted by our Flying Display Control Committee. They're by a team of about 12 people with various skills, mostly pilots, and they'll look at it. And if they have any doubts about the safety of any of the events, then it'll be we will contact the pilot and we'll discuss it. We've got fault lines along the airfield over which they can't cross, depending on their speed and everything else. And we've got people monitoring the airshow all the time from various vantage points. And we have a system where if we see something wrong that we see dangerous, we'll stop it instantly and get the pilot on the ground. So we keep a pretty close eye. So all the routines are pre-practiced and we watch them beforehand.
Okay, so there's no time for spur of the moment ideas
Absolutely no spur of the moment flying at all.
Okay. What kind of problems have you encountered organising the show this year or previous years?
Weather. Weather is our big problem. We had heavy rain yesterday morning. It caused the cancellation of some aeroplanes. The RAF Falcons were due to jump, the paratroopers were due to jump at 10:30. Their aeroplane broke, so they came a bit later, but the weather caused problems with that. The weather is our biggest problem. Two problems, weather and aircraft becoming unserviceable. And that's it, those are the two problems.
If aircraft become unserviceable, do you have substitute aircraft on standby?
Most of the display teams have a spare aircraft.
But presumably things like the Vulcan,
well, not unique aircraft like the Vulcan.
But things like the Red Arrows or the Spanish display team?
They will, well, no, they won't have a spare aircraft, but they will display, they'll have a formula whereby they will display with 6 aircraft or 5. In fact, if you notice, we've just been watching the Red Arrows, you may not have noticed that one of them went home early.
Oh.
He hit a bird, broke away, and went back and landed into space. Now, their skills are such that they can just carry on and you wouldn't even notice. In fact, you didn't even notice.
And what happens if they're flying so close together? Presumably they've got it all sorted out. But if they hit a bird and somebody moves slightly out of sync,
nobody moves slightly out of sync. If they hit a bird, they have a contingency plan, and if something goes wrong, they have a manoeuvre which will take them out of the formation, and that's what they do.
And the other one went off home, and the rest of them carry on with their show.
And nobody noticed.
And it doesn't it's not dangerous of any kind if a bird hits a plane?
No more dangerous than crossing a road, really. If there isn't a bus coming, you're okay. If there's a bus coming, you could get killed.
Yes, I suppose, if you look at it like that. Now you've thrown me, I've forgotten my other question. Do you have any other questions?
Okay. Okay. We spent the last 2 days doing exactly what we have a contingency plan for. Airplanes have fallen out of the system. We brought them forward. We moved other ones forward this afternoon, for example. Just before we were due to have the 40-minute roll demonstration, the weather came in, low cloud, which put them outside their limits. So we used the Chinook, which was actually part of the roll demonstration. We called him up on the radio because we knew he was ready to go. We said, look, he was due to display an hour later. So we said, look, are you ready to display now? And if you are ready to display now, will you have enough fuel to land and go straight into the roll demonstration? So he said, yes, I'll just throw my troops out. He had about 20 troops in the back, which you saw jumping out.
Oh, yeah.
He threw them off, took off, did his display.
That wasn't supposed to have been part of the display then? Or the
no, that was part of the roll demonstration. He threw his troops off, where you wouldn't see them. He then came up, did his solo display, landed back, picked his troops up, and then rejoined the roll demonstration. So that's what we do. The Mirage, his aeroplane broke just as he was crewing in. He went and got another airplane, which delayed him 10 minutes, so we just moved him into another slot, and that's just how we do it.
Okay. And if a pilot gets sick at the last minute, do they have standby pilots?
There's no answer for that. The pilots are specially qualified, and they're authorised, and nobody else can do that particular sortie. They are specially trained for that year. They have what they call a display licence for 1 year.
Okay.
And during that year, they do lots of displays, and if they go sick, that's it.
Okay, so the Red Arrows team will only have their 9 pilots, and if one of them is sick, they'll fly their 8-plane routine or their 7-plane routine.
Yeah, but they do actually have 10 pilots. But they fly 9. The 10th pilot was the chap you interviewed. He's their commentator, but I don't know how well. I don't know them that well, but I think if one of the pilots goes down, I think this guy is qualified to jump in.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much indeed for your
You're very
time. I
welcome.
can imagine it's a very busy day for you, so we'll let you get back to it.
Thank you
very much.
Goodbye.
Pat Bland, organiser of RAF Waddington Air Show. Thank you.
Radio Norwich. Hi, Steve. Nice to meet you.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Muy bien.
What are you doing up here?
Well, just escaping the wind and the rain, and I'm just having a little break. I mean, I was flying earlier. I'm the pilot for the Typhoon, the F-Flight Typhoon. It's quite tiring work, so I'm just sort of taking 15 minutes away from the fans, keep asking for autographs and stuff. So just taking a little break, watching the Vulcan, which was the fighter, just like mine in its day. Not quite as fast as my plane, doesn't pull so many Gs, but it's going to get off the ground soon. It's just broken down at the moment, but I'm confident the engineers will get it up soon.
Tell us, what's it like being inside the Typhoon at that speed?
Pretty windy. Oh, you mean the plane? Sorry. Yeah. I mean, it's fantastic. The G-force. The G-force is pretty quick.
Oh wait!